So our next guest is Marina Marks, and Marina was born with fetal alcohol effects. And shortly after moving in with her adopted mother, was diagnosed with an intellectual disability, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, oppositional defiance disorder, and a communication disorder. Holy cow, wow, that's a lot of obstacles, and that's a lot of labels to attach to people. Marina, with much support from her school team and family, was able to successfully complete her graduation requirements for high school. She decided to defer her graduation for 1 year in 2011 to participate in Project Search because she wanted to better prepare herself for her employment. Marina's presentation will focus on how discovery, getting to know individuals, the right team, the ability to advocate for yourself, and having the right attitude all played a role in leading to her being successfully employed at Camp Bow Wow, which is a doggy daycare in Hilliard, Ohio, where she works 20 to 25 hours a week. She also drives to work, so it's an amazing story. So without further ado, Marina.
Hi, I'm Marina Marks, and I want to thank you for letting me share my story with you today. Okay. Once upon a time, I was this adorable 5-year-old little girl. Seriously, look at my picture. Wouldn't that just take you? Pictures don't tell the whole story, though. At the time this picture was taken, I wasn't able to talk, I wasn't potty trained, and I had a lot of aggressive behavior against others. I was a sad, confused, and angry little girl. My family life was not good, and many of my behaviors were because of things my parents did to me. Shortly after this picture was taken, my auntie heard about what was happening to me. She hired people to help me be able to move in with her. Finally, in 1997, I moved to her house in Columbus, Ohio. We barely knew each other because my auntie wasn't close to my family. One of the first things that she did was paint a room for me in her house. She told me that this is my room and it was safe. No one was allowed going in it unless I let them. She let me go to the store and pick out a color to paint it. And being a girl, of course, I chose pink and white. This was the first time I had a room all to myself, but I wasn't ready for this room. I had never been taught to put myself to sleep. My auntie did a lot of things to help me get over my fears. Each night after she gave me a bath, read me a story, and said prayers with me, she would leave every light on in the house because I was afraid of the dark. She even left the basement light on, because I would scream if I saw the light was off. So I began to feel safer. She began turning off lights that weren't near my room. It took time, but after 6 months, I was able to sleep with only a nightlight in my bedroom. During this time, she took me to a lot of doctors because she knew something was wrong. I was like most 5-year-olds, and she wasn't sure how to help. After many tests, we found out some of my disorders that made it hard for me to learn, made it hard for me to trust people, made it hard for me to focus for long periods of time. Wow, no wonder I struggled at home and at school. We worked with the doctors, teachers, and therapists for many years to help me with my problems. But when I was in middle school, I was doing much better, but I still had a hard time learning things. This would be with me for the rest of my life, so I had to learn to work harder to be successful. My auntie and I talked about adoption and how it would make me feel safer, because I had a mom who would take care of me. In 2005, I became her daughter. She became my new mom. This was probably the one thing in my life that made me feel the safest and most loved. My home life is good, but school was still hard for me. And the other students were learning different things. For me, I had to have a lot of accommodations to learn the same stuff. Sometimes I still wasn't able to understand what the class mom told me this is how it would be for the rest of my life. She told me that if I worked 10 times harder than anyone else, I could be 10 times prouder of myself. She always was supportive and constantly involved in my school and community life. She had me join things so only like social skills, but these were fun things for me, like soccer and gymnastics. My mom was pretty smart because she told me that these are fun things that kids do. She never told me that I actually would be learning something. She could be pretty sneaky that way. She also could be firm. I did not like this when I was younger. But now that I know, she did the right thing. For example, I told her that I wanted to play the clarinet when I was in 6th grade. She told me that was a good idea, but if she bought me one, I had to play in band all the way through 8th grade too. Of course, at the end of 6th grade, I wanted to quit because it was hard. She reminded me that I promised to play until 8th grade and told me I wasn't allowed to quit until then. So glad that she pushed me because my absolute favorite thing about high school was being part of marching band. I would tell people bands in my life. I also was in theater and still played soccer. All these things taught me discipline, teamwork, and responsibilities, things that I needed in order to work. My junior and senior year, I went to Tools Current Technical Center for half day. I wanted to learn about small animals. I knew that I loved being around animals, and one day I wanted to work with them. For my senior year, my mom developed an internship position for me at Riverside Animal Care Center. She worked with the staff there to develop accommodations that I would need to be a vet tech intern. My mom, Dee Marks, can share about the experience.
Thank you, Miranda. But then I'll get ready to start reading the rest of her speech, which I don't want to do that. I got to read my part. As Marina has indicated in her own way, she had to face many obstacles early in life. Not only to be successful at home, because as you've heard her say, her home life had been atrocious, and so she didn't know how to be part of the family. She did not know how to love someone. She did not know how to care about anyone. But also at school, she really, I can't even express, struggled. So much so that I was hesitant to even put her in school. But then we started thinking, what about employment? If I'm not even thinking about putting her in the school system, what does that mean for her future? When she moved in with me when she was 5, she was nonverbal. Can you believe that? Nonverbal, literally did not know the word water. Her vocabulary when we assessed her 6 months after I got her was less than 100 words, and she was 6.5 years old. Most students, or most children, have that level before the age of 2. So that gives you an idea of where she was. She was extremely violent. That was the only course that she knew. She had lived in an abusive home. She had lived in a home where the mother was in abusive relationships. And literally, I would be called on a daily basis from preschool where she would beat the boy up on the playground because she won't beat him up before they beat her up. So we had to work through those problems to be part of our community. She was also considered at that age the same developmentally as a 1-year-old. Her actual diagnoses are, because it'll blow you away when you hear these, fetal alcohol effects, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, reactive attachment disorder, and a communication disorder. Even though I witnessed each part of this journey with her, I have to say, I'm going to tear up, sorry. It amazes me to see this young lady here. As you can tell, once her speech came, she took after me, and those around her rarely have a quiet moment. But each day I'm thankful for that, because I remember the days where it was awful. Marina was one of those kids in high school who had tons of personality, but due to her developmental delays, tended to seem much more immature than her peers. As a parent, her naive trust in others also created a huge safety concern. She literally had no stranger danger awareness. Concerned about how these social delays would affect her ability to be successful, I started to give serious thought on how to best support her as a parent. I decided that I would work to find her a meaningful internship placement while she was still in high school. Using various assessments and discovery process and talking with the team at school, we learned that Marina loved animals. We knew this. This is a picture of her with our dog at home. It's still our dog. We've been very fortunate. He's been alive for a long time. We knew that, but we also knew there were very significant deficits in her ability to understand how to work with co-workers, with other employers, with actual customers that would come in a professional manner. We also knew that we needed to figure out what accommodations would be warranted to allow her in a work setting to work independently in the future. because I was determined she needed to have the least amount of support possible. I want her to have confidence in her abilities. For years, we had taken our dog, Sammy, to Riverside Animal Care Center for his annual vet checks. And since we already had a relationship with us, and how many times have you heard that in conferences? The relationship makes a difference, right? I decided I'd talk to them first. I met with Becky Marsh, who was our hiring manager, and we talked about opportunities that Riverside Animal Care Center offered for those internships. And at the time, they did offer internships, 6-month internships, which are awesome, but only to college students who were studying to be vet techs. I'm not one to give up easy, as most of you know, and so I said, hey, how about you interview Marina? Because it's a professional setting, it's a real-world setting, and she could use that practice. So we brought Marina in, we prepared an employment portfolio and brought her in for that. And I was just hoping through the process, Becky might see the talents and the skills that Marina had and said, oh, I know this clinic down the street, she would be perfect for that. That was my final goal for that setting. However, Marina nailed this interview. She had so much enthusiasm in her honesty in answering the responses and her ability to communicate what her disability meant for her, but also what her skills and her talents were and how she could benefit the employer, won Becky over. Literally before we left the room, she said, I'm going to make this work, I'm offering her the internship. I was literally floored, I was surprised, but also as a parent, I was extremely proud. We met several times over the next few weeks, and we walked through the duties that a vet tech intern would have. One of the things we had decided together was we were going to give Marina the actual position. We weren't going to job carve, we weren't going to change it. We wanted to test her in this arena and see what her skills truly were in a professional setting. So she was going to be responsible for preparing all of the surgery packs for the sterilization process, and we were planning on having her do that. Our biggest concern was that Marina would have to learn all the various tools and be able to know which tool was used for each surgery. I don't know how much you guys know about surgical tools, but every one of those 100 scissors they use look exactly the same. But when you open the scissors up, literally, there's different kinds of serrated blades and things like that, and she had to literally learn, okay, this one is used to clamp something open. It was pretty incredible. So, I'm looking for how do we support this, right? I've heard about this new gadget, I'm showing my age, an iPad. It was brand new, first year out. And everybody was talking about, oh, this is the latest, greatest thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to get one for Christmas. This is about November. Marina was starting her internship in January. I can actually say I really wish I knew Tony Gentry, our keynote from yesterday, back then, because I think I would have gotten a lot more sleep. I know I probably stayed up 3 or 4 nights straight in a row trying to figure that iPad out, trying to figure out what sources and apps that I needed to put on there in order to make it for her. It is sometimes hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But the awesome thing is I did figure it out, and I knew that the iPad would work for Marina. As soon as I got those apps on there, I saw how functional it was going to be. Within a week's time, I was able to walk Marina through a typical workday by using apps for checklists, photo streams, flashcards, and timers. I was literally able to set up her list of duties for the whole day on her iPad in a format that would just repeat every day, so that way she could check off what she had done. Finally, the day came when Marina was ready to start. So I reached out to Erin Kennedy, who was our school's transition coordinator, and shared with her what we were doing. And she was able to assign Marina a job coach to follow along for the first 2 weeks. We just happened to be in a downtime. It was like a fluke situation. And Marina's ability to use the iPad truly made a difference because the job coach was faded out within about a week and a half and just could go in and just randomly check on her. She used from that point on the iPad and just the natural support of her coworkers. Upon completion of Marina's internship, there was no longer any doubt that she could work with the proper supports, of course. But in some ways, more important to me, she was going to be able to work in a career that she loved. As a mom, can't be more proud of her. However, as a mom, I knew there was still more work to be done. And there began Marina's rest of her journey. So I'm going to turn it back over to Marina.
Thanks, Mom. I loved my internship and I knew that I wanted to work with animals someday. But as I got close to graduation time, Ms. Kennedy, my transition coordinator, wanted me to check out Project Search. I didn't want to, but my mom talked to me about it and said, let's just go and look at it. We don't have to sign up unless you want to. Once I visited the program it showed me how nice the people are, and like how I get to learn the different jobs in the hospital. And this candidate can tell you more about my experience with project search.
Hi there, my name is Erin Kennedy. I'm Transition Coordinator for Dublin City Schools. Marina attended Dublin Crofton High School from 2007 to 2011, primarily focusing on academics. She did participate in the band and theater for then her junior and senior year. She attended Tolles Technical Center in the Small Animal Care Program. She earned elective credits and gained skills in this field. She also participated in the work-study program at a local animal hospital, as Dee had indicated. After attending Kaufman for 4 years and primarily concentrating on academics, the IEP team determined, as Marina had just shared, she wasn't very interested, but after really kind of talking to her, she was able to then look more into it and then apply to Project Search, which is housed at Dublin Methodist Hospital. The Dublin City Schools is very lucky. We have some options for some post-secondary programming. Project Search, for those of you that do not know, it is a 1-year program that provides training and education leading to employment for individuals with disabilities. This program occurs on-site, as I said, at Dublin Methodist Hospital. Although students are immersed in the hospital setting, they are taught job skills that are transferable for inside of the hospital as well as outside of the hospital. Marina applied and was accepted for the 11-12 school year. The team identified her strengths to include, as you can see, the ability to communicate, taking the initiative, and very willing to please. Although she is very outgoing, and also, as Dee had indicated, which there are also times when she has difficulty with some of her conversational skills with coworkers and or customers. She also had difficulty remembering large items, which again, we put the iPad in place, and then at times lack confidence. These strengths and challenges would be addressed and worked on through Project Search. Marina participated in a variety of internships throughout the hospital to teach those core employability skills and experience the jobs hands-on. Through the support of the instructor and the job coach, Marina made great progress. The program also included an employability class to improve not only employability skills, but to teach some of those important daily living skills. At the end of the program, the data indicated that Marina was ready for that next step of competitive employment. Throughout Marina's programming, both academic and vocational, her skills were strengthened. But was it enough to be ready for that next step? Marina's long-term goal of college was college, therefore she focused on those academics. But as she navigated through the educational process, would it have benefited in having more of that vocational training, although she still had that college goal? But I'm really glad today, and these are the times that make my job meaningful, and know that I want to get up that next day and go back to work because I can actually see the outcome. So I am so happy to see that Marina is happy and she is gainfully employed. She's very lucky to have found an employer to be supportive of her needs and in turn allows her to work in a field that she is so passionate. I wish Marina the best of luck in her next pursuit of college because I know that she will do well in anything that she really enjoys.
After I graduated from Project Search, I had a full-time job at Doctor's Hospital. This was my first paying job. It was cool to have all that money. But there were big problems. The first problem was that my mom had to drive me to and from work every day because I couldn't drive. The bus route was 2 hours each way from our house. This was frustrating for my mom because she had to cancel her own clients to have time to do this every day. There were also a lot of accidents on the highway, and sometimes it took her an hour to come pick me up and an hour to get home. I really liked the people I worked with, but much of my money went towards paying for gas and bills, and I didn't enjoy the job that I had. I often come home and feel sad. I was responsible for cleaning rooms for patients, and I was bored because I knew I could do more than just clean. I talked to my mom about this a lot. Finally, my mom told me that I was too young to do this a lot of work. She told me when I'm 40 years old. 40 years old and I had kids. I need to work to pay the bills. But when I'm 20 years old, I should work at a job that I enjoyed. I also knew that I wanted to go to college to pay that debt. And it would be too hard if I was working a full-time job so far away from home. She helped me write my 2-week notice, and she and I began looking for other options. The first thing we did was reopen my case with BBR. We talked with my caseworker about my problems with my last job, how I wanted to work with animals and be closer to home. Also, I wanted to learn how to drive. My mom hired a private instructor who worked with me 3 days a week for about 6 months to learn the basics of driving. That's a picture of my instructor and I. It was actually in the newspaper about driving. I was able to pass my driver's license test, but my mom and instructor knew I needed more help. Through PVR, I was able to work with an OT driver instructor. He helped me learn the basics of how to be a safer driver. I also knew that there were some things I'm still not good at when I drive. For instance, I'm not the best judge of the speed of traffic coming towards me, so I need to be on roads that have stop signs or traffic lights for any left-hand turns. I also get really nervous on the highway, so I prefer to drive on roads that are less than 50 miles per hour. Those kind of things are important for me to be aware of, so that I can still drive, but also know that I'm not putting myself or anyone else in danger. Through PVR, I was given time to work with a job developer. She helped me fill out applications for positions and took me on several interviews. She was amazing and really listened when I told her I wanted to work with animals. I wanted to be somewhere that I could drive to work on my own. Through a few interviews, Christian and I went to one at Camp Bow Wow in Hilliard. The staff walked me around. I knew I'd like to work here. It's a job that allowed me to work with dogs each day. They were really nice and asked me questions that made me feel as though they understood me. I got the phone call saying that they wanted to hire me. I was so excited. My job coach, John Cole, is here today to talk about my first few weeks at Camp Bow Wow.
Hi, I'm John Cole, and I'm a job coach. I was with Greenleaf Job Training Services, which is a private firm locally in Columbus. I had the honor of meeting Marina first when she was in orientation for her job at the hospital. And after the wealth of everybody, putting all their efforts into getting to this position, the one thing I noticed in the 2 days we spent together, we first went through 100 different positions. They hired 100 people there, and everybody's position got identified, talked about, and Marina sat through that with me. And the next day we did computer-based learning modules together, which can be a challenge at the best of times. But the big thing I noticed about Marina was she was the happiest when she found out that someone she'd gone through Project Search with was also participating and sat at our table with us, and that we had great lunches both days. Other than that, I was concerned, but I didn't get to follow up on her. I was with her the 2 days of orientation, and I didn't do any follow-up coaching with her. And it wasn't for 10 months until this last April that I actually met Marina again, finding out that she's going to be a camp counselor at Camp Bow Wow in Hilliard, and I got to be her job coach. So I go there with some fear and trepidation, because I knew she wasn't real happy the last time, but we'd gotten along very well, so I was confident that we'd do all right. But I come in to meet this young lady that's got all the challenges of a new job ahead of her. In addition, she's just learning to drive and has the expectation she's going to be taking herself back and forth to work. And she greets me with the biggest smile I've ever seen. And I think, if you know, she smiles most of the time. She's an incredibly enthusiastic young lady, usually smiling, and she took to this job like a duck to water. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Not only did the job suit her, the animals loved her, the staff worked with her and accommodated her. As a coach, there were a few glitches going along, but nothing too significant. We worked through them. The thing that concerned me the most was very early on, Adam, her employer, said she didn't need a coach anymore. Well, I have responsibilities not only to Marina, who's my main concern, but to my employer, and to Adam. They don't realize all the dynamics that go on in a new hire. We have, a honeymoon period. Everybody's on the best behavior in a new employer, new relationship, until they start to learn something, and a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous. And then real life kicks in, and sometimes there's some glitches and some problems show up. The other thing that we had is, of course, that she was willing to drive. You have no idea how far I was the first day I saw her come without mom having to follow her. And show up at work successfully, and within 10 or 15 attempts get into a parking space correctly. But it's a joy, and I was almost as proud as mom was. But the other thing that happens is that when you're in a supervisory or an assisting role, people behave differently. Well, not only did Marina behave differently, because I'm there and she's always looking over her shoulder to see whether I'm looking happy about what she's doing or not doing, but the employers there, they're doing the same thing. But in this setting, we had sometimes up to 40 or 50 dogs doing the same thing. And they're very vocal. And I think that was, as much as anything, one of the reasons behind Adam saying, we really don't need a coach, because the place would go crazy when I go back to be with Marina. And it made Marina's job more difficult, because you might trying to get back to where the area she was working in. Usually a dog or two would get loose, and she'd have to go chase them up and down from the causeways and get them back into the area where we were working. But it turns out, as you heard yesterday, if you were here for the technology session, technology is a wonderful thing, and it helped with my coaching. They have closed-circuit TV at Camp Bow Wow. And not only can you look into each area where the dogs are being worked or being cared for, you can actually, the staff can make some areas larger for you. So I got to stand outside where I didn't influence Marina. She didn't even know I was there some of the times until it was all over. The dogs didn't know I was there. The other staff didn't know I was there. So I could see how things were really going from standing by a screen and watching it. That was a godsend. It worked out marvelous. When I didn't know, I worked at a facility similar before, but not this one. So my job, as much as anything, is to learn things a little quicker than Marina did, so that I was there to be able to give constructive advice. But whenever a question came up where I was seeing some behavior that I was concerned about, I could go and talk to Adam. And if it was something that was a legitimate concern, then I could talk to Marina about it. I could go and work with Marina when necessary. But I could stay out of the way more and more at the time. It was fading without fading. If any of you have ever been in that position where you have to be a job coach and you try to watch what's going on with the person you're working with without being seen, they're being clever. They'll look here, they'll look everywhere to see. And this couldn't happen. It was a detached thing. I was present but not present. I could give assistance when it was needed, and I could back out as it was needed. And the results are Marina. Happy, successful Camp Bow Wow counselor. Adam and his ongoing successful business. Dee, a continuing cooperative and proud parent, very supportive. And myself, the job coach who worked himself out of a job. As part of a team helping Marina realize her goals and potential. Thank you.
I'm still working at Camp Bow Wow today. I love it more than on the first hire. My hours have been increased over time, and my responsibilities at work have also increased. My employer, Adam Shellhammer, is also here today with me. I'd like to share about why he hired me and how I'm doing as his employee.
Hi, my name is Adam. I am Miranda's manager at Camp Bow Wow. When we were looking to start to hire a few new employees, Marina's application kept popping up to us. It was very well done, and to be honest, the only thing holding us back was the disability. We work with dogs that range from 5 pounds to 150 pounds that are all playing together. Since we didn't know exactly what her disability was, we decided to bring her in and give her an interview just like everybody everybody else. During the interview process, Marina was very honest with us about her abilities. She had numerous documents of recommendation, and she had been to school at tools. She had wide open availability, which is always nice. After the interview, we decided that her disability was something we could work around by just having her work with the little dogs, 5 pounds to 40 pounds, and only be in the yards. Our initial concerns were her reaction time to a scruffle. They are dogs, and we'll get the fights here and there. And understanding and learning the dog's behavior. After her first day of training, she proved that she could handle the small dogs without question. After about her second or third day working with us, I did tell our dog coach he didn't need to come back. She caught on fast, she knew what she was doing, I had no issues with her. Then a couple weeks later, some concerns started arising me again. She started to ask if she could be with the big dogs. Going from 40-pound dogs to 41 to 150-pound dogs is a big jump. I'll admit, I was nervous. We were slow one day with not a lot of big dogs, so I told her, go ahead and jump in. She did amazing and hasn't looked back since. She will be the first to jump in and break the scuffle, and she has no fear out there. I have now started bringing her in for the opening shift with me. That means she's there at 6:30 in the morning. She usually beats me at work. And has a lot more responsibility. She has to let her own row of dogs out, clean up any messes they made overnight, feed them breakfast, and put them back in the correct cabins. She then has the task of going around and changing all the water bowls, making the dogs' next meals, and even giving medications. I have zero worries with her doing any of these tasks. I know if she has questions, she will ask me. Hiring Marina has changed my views on hiring someone with a disability. I am now a firm believer that just because they have a disability, there is a job out there for them somewhere. You just have to give them a chance. It may take them a little longer to learn the job than someone without a disability, or they could be like Marina and learn it quicker than people without a disability. A couple side notes. I hope you're still working with us when you master that right-hand turn. You can park inside the parking lot with all of us. She did drive through her first snowstorm in the middle of October already. And you work from 1:30 to 7 tonight?
That's why I love working with him, his personality. He's a great person. Last month I found out how lucky I am. I had to have emergency surgery. It's everyone's worst fear. It's made worse if you're employed with a disability. We always wonder whether our boss will understand. I love my job and I don't want to miss one single day of work. When my mom called Adam to fill him in on what happened, he said that my priority was to take care of my health. When my mom told him that he needed another surgery in a few months, so he would be gone 3 to 4 weeks, Adam made me feel as though I was truly part of his employment family by reminding me that my job was still going to be there. You need to know that I love my job at Camp Powell so much that I went back to work the day after I got released from the hospital. It's amazing when you love your job like I do. I'm so fortunate it's because I had the right team working with me through the years. I found the right employer and kept the right attitude. I'm capable of doing meaningful work in my community that uses my unique skills. Thank you for letting me share my story with you today. Hopefully each of you know that you can make a difference for someone else. Thank you for all that you do to make the dream of working a reality for so many people.
Last night I was looking for one final picture that I wanted to put in the slideshow, and I went downstairs and when I was looking, I found 2 portfolio books that we have created through the years, especially middle school and high school for Marina, that actually encapsulate perfectly everything that's in her presentation. We've been very open and honest from day one about her disability. We've been open and honest about her previous environment because we feel that her story does empower because she's overcome that. And so if you choose to and would like to, we've actually put those portfolios out on the ASCII table in the vendor lounge. And it's just a wonderful progression of her journey in her words through the last several years. So I'm going to turn it back over to Laura.
powerful story, such a great story. You know, I hope that in like 5 years, that would be my dream, that we wouldn't have to say, wow, isn't this fantastic, people with disabilities get a job. That, you know, at some point that it is just what we do. That, you know, employment for people with disabilities is an expectation, and it's what we do and what we expect from people. I would like to bring Matt and Marina back up on stage, if you wouldn't mind, and give them another huge round of applause, because speaking in front of a large audience is phenomenal. So come on up, please. Everybody in this room that makes a difference, but I think these two young people made a difference in my life today, and hopefully they made a difference in your life today as well, because I really feel like your stories are so incredibly powerful, and we need to talk more about these stories and about the successes that individuals have, and also, of course, the employer, because we can't forget about you guys. Because without the employers saying, yes, I see potential in this individual, that is so, so incredible. So we want to open it up for questions now, because I really want people to ask questions, and if you don't ask questions, I will ask questions, because I think that we need to learn more and hear more. So I'm going to have you guys sit up here, if that's okay. So, and then also the employer, if you don't mind, would you mind coming back up? I know I did not prep him on this one, so. So I'd like to open it up for some questions from the audience, and I'm not sure, just shout it out if you have a question. Yes?
As an employer, how do you deal with other coworkers that may harass or make fun of?
Honestly, we haven't had to deal with it.
I run into that sometimes.
From pretty much the beginning, you know, she kept using the word family, which is on having to have that surgery. We really are a family. You know, we have parties, all of us come, you know, to get together and everything. And I don't think you've had to deal with anything, have you? So, yeah, we haven't had to deal with it. We have a really good, close group of employees.
I know you all have questions about this.
For Matt, what was the process of learning to drive for you?
I would say the scary part is just getting behind the wheel first. Just trying to understand all the laws and the restrictions and everything, just understanding it all and knowing that I can pass the test. And I was scared to death, I would say, not failing that test and getting them. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to steal her car. I mean, the best way I could explain it is, I thought I could do it, but I was unsure. But as I progressed in my life, I learned that I could do it. And, I mean, it was a scary journey, but I managed to do it. I hope that answers your question the best I can.
Did you have some supports kind of helping you, or was it you just went into the task and started driving?
It was kind of, I went to, my parents got me to a driving academy. It was just like a mile down the road from where I live. And so I went through the driving academy first, and that's what they really helped me to drive more, better than what I could probably did without a driving academy.
When you were, this question is for both of us, when you guys were in school, in high school, did you think about driving then? Did you think about having a job then? Because other people that were in other classes, I'm sure, you know, teachers were talking to them probably about, you know, what are you going to do when you graduate? Or do you think about driving? You know, people begin to think about driving with education. You guys think about that, or did your family talk
I really didn't think about driving. I knew in high school, I knew beginning job, and her and I talked about driving, but in high school it was mostly focused on education and learning employment skills that I needed to keep a job.
I would say I probably wanted to drive high school when I was in school, but I think my worry was just getting through school. I don't think I really had a desire at that time to worry about getting a job or anything. I mean, I think I thought about it, but I didn't really think of it too much.
I focused on my strengths, like what I love to do. I love working with animals. So people who don't know what they do, focus on what they like. Like they like working with people one-on-one, they like working behind the scenes. That's what I did. I focused on things I love to find a job that I'm good at.
I would say just tell them to honor their weaknesses, even if it is weak, don't be ashamed of it, and work on to strengthen your skills. And know that you have a support team behind you to get you through those difficult times, and you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
I'm wondering, and I don't know where you live, and I don't know Ohio well enough to say, but would you be willing to come to places to talk about your stories and sort of help people with disabilities who may not think that they can work in the community, like schools?
I'd be willing to do it if it inspires kids with disabilities to go out there and find what they like. Because it's hard for us. I mean, we always focus on the positive, but we have weaknesses that we like to work with, and it's nice to know that we have a support team behind us, helping us all the way, and finding the right employer that's willing to work with our job coaches and with our disabilities. I would be fine with it.
I would really love to do something like that one day. I mean, 'cause I love seeing how different people work differently, and working with people with disabilities. I can tell you, I'd rather work with somebody sometimes that has a disability, because I hear the truth, other people sometimes aren't as nice. I'm not speaking on anybody, but you know what I mean.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, you may.
When you guys are working around, people in your employment and in work, do you find that people ask you about your disability, or do you bring those things up? Does that cross your mind when you're working with your coworkers?
I'm going to repeat the question just so everybody can hear way back in the corner. We only have one microphone, right? You run it around. So the question is, when you're on your job, do you talk to other people, your coworkers and supervisors, about your disability and about your weaknesses as well as your challenges to help them understand, correct?
Right, or even not even to, I'm just curious, does it come into their mind?
Oh, does it come into your mind?
Because
Okay,
sometimes when we work, sometimes we have weaknesses, anybody.
right.
They may share things or feel fearful or doubt.
Okay, yeah. So do you feel fearful, or because like you all both said earlier, like she's saying, is we all have disabilities, right? We all have weaknesses. So do you share that? Are you afraid to talk about it?
If you have a disability, you shouldn't be afraid to share it. Like hold it back, but if they don't bring it up, because some disabilities you can't see, like his and I, you can't tell we have a disability. We look like normal people. But if they bring it up because they kind of notice it in your speech, then you can mention it. But if they don't bring it up, you can if you want to. It's your own will.
I'd say sometimes I talk about my disability, but I mean, if it only is affecting the job that I'm doing, like I'm a terrible speller. And if I'm at the host stand, I'm like, I didn't take his name, so if you want to put it in for me. And I had a coworker the other night said, well, it's not that hard, I was going to go and report it in. I said, yeah, but to me, I don't want to put something wrong. I said, but when I'm up there or something, I said, we got these walkie-talkies. Just tell me, because I said, my disability on this is, I just need you to communicate with me because I can communicate better in voice than on paper. And so I guess you could kind of say I show my disability, but sometimes you wouldn't even notice it because I am. Do you ask the servers when I walk in the door? They're like, "Are you our salad maker tonight?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And they're like, "Yes," because they know that I am going to work side by side with them, even if I get frustrated. And I will commit to getting them help as much as I do my job at the same time, because I've learned how not to get so frustrated, because I can have like 10 tickets bring in for salad at one time, and helping my coworker, actually I just shared this real fast. Mama is what we call her, and she lives at the restaurant, and her real name is Stephanie, we call her Mama. I work with her from the started at Olive Garden. I work with her, and she showed me how to be an expediter, pulling food out of the window from the tables, how to take to-go orders, and because of her, she's also strengthened my disabilities. It's something I never, ever thought I was able to do. That she proved me wrong, and I can now do what she does, and I can help her out, and she's backed up, and she helped me back when I'm backed up.
I'll just kind of talk as far as Rainy here. It wasn't actually until about 2 weeks ago that I learned the full extent of her past. I didn't even know you weren't her real mom until I read that. But I was happy to know through talking to other employees that she embraces it. She's not afraid to talk about it. Employees knew more than I did, because she was open, she would talk to them, and I think everybody at work loves her. Corey was telling me the other day, you guys are talking politics. Like, she wasn't afraid to talk, to let people know what they were, her disabilities, and what, the story behind them. So she really embraces it.
Did I understand that Matt lives on his own, and one of his biggest challenges, and does Marina plan on being on her own sometime?
No, I got it. I'm just trying to think of my head. I certainly do not live on my own, just because of my income. I mean, I wish I did, but in a way I wish I don't, because I'd be pretty lonely without somebody to communicate with. But that is one of my things I hope I can do one day.
My mom and I talked about it. I do plan to live on my own, but I like living at home because I can help with my brother and everything else. So it's in the future for me to move out, live somewhere close to home, but that's our goal, is for me to live on my own.
One of the things that we concern ourselves with is people being integrated in the community, making friends and things like that at work. And I'm just wondering, you guys have a lot of friends at work, that people you become friends with, hang out with, who would you think with?
I can't vouch I have come close to like my employer and some of the people at work, and like you said, we throw parties. I hang out, talk with them. It's really nice to have a small group of people that you work with, because you get to know them a little bit better and know what they want to do and everything else. So yeah, there's some people that I hang out with, talk sometimes with a lot.
Sorry. I mean, the friends at work that I had, like I said, with being Mama, I have a friend that was, she transferred from Columbus Olive Garden to our restaurant, and now she's becoming a manager for from our restaurant that I'm real good friends with. She's really got my back support. Of course, Mama, she's always been like there for me. I mean, without her, I don't think I'd still work there today. I mean, just because her relates so much to some of the stress in the restaurant and stuff like that. Tough situations she gets me through. I've had some good friends at the Olive Garden, but they've now moved on to better things. I'm keeping communication with them, but I would say I love having that small group inside work in that small branch of MRDD outside of work to support me and come in if I need it.
Yes, you may. I can't stop her, so I
Well, I think this is truly important because that was one of my biggest concerns, is her having friends in the work environment. But one of the things that we've also tried to do, and I strongly encourage you as you connect with the people that you're working with, is they also need to be connected to the community, not just the women. None of us only have friends at work. We also have friends in the community that we go hang out with or go to a movie with or call when we're upset. For our case, Marina's had the same boyfriend, scarily enough, for almost 2 years. So they do things together. Her best friend was in the soccer picture with her, we're all covered in mud from 3rd grade. They're still best friends. So they get together, and we actually do a trip every year together. She also, we've gotten into a lot of post-secondary type of community activities. Confirmation, which is a Christian form of young life for young adults with disabilities, connects them with typical peers locally. And so she does that once a month. She's involved in the Best Buddies program, which is run for OSU, where she's connected with a college student, and they do monthly, twice a month, events together to build relationships. So as important it is to build those relationships in the work environment, as best as you can guide whoever you're working with to tap into the community, that's truly where it is, because ultimately, although we all love working for Adam, if she goes to school to be a vet tech, we want her employed as a vet tech, so she's going to leave that employment arena. So she's still going to have... so ultimately, her goal is to keep moving on. I mean, that's our goal for all of ourselves, so why would we expect the same thing for them? So it is important for her to have relationships outside of that work situation as well. So I just wanted to say that we've got to do that. Whatever those interests are, or if there's other opportunities like the best written programs, things like that, it is really important to tap into those as well.
Other questions? Yes.
Also, I'd like to share a little story about the Employment Services Club, RDD Employment Services Division. We also have like what we call Employment Services Club, and we have approximately 80 individuals that are working out in the community at different type jobs. Matt goes to the Employment Services Club. They meet, about monthly, once a month. Tomorrow they're actually going to Fort Wayne, Indiana for Christmas shopping. They go to the Christmas shopping. They go to the casino once a year. They take a group of them to the casino. Do you go to the casino? Okay. They go, they have dinner and movie where one night they'll go to a restaurant, and then they'll go to a movie afterwards. So they get a lot of interaction with a lot of the other individuals that have a disability, but they're able to, draw on all those other people. And I think how many are going tomorrow? There's 30 individuals going tomorrow, going to go Christmas shopping. They'll be going all day. And the casino trip is another big thing. They go to go down to Cincinnati Reds ball game. So it does give them another outlet for to meet other people. And that's just something that we try to do over there.
I didn't think you would be a gambler, given that you're so cheap.
Yes, okay, I'm going to Can you shout or speak?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yesterday we heard Tony talk a lot about the assistive technologies, and Marina, I believe you used an iPad or an iPod Touch as you came through this. important was that to you? And what role does that still play today?
I use my iPad a lot. We actually have some stuff for college set up, some apps that I have on there that I can use for colleges. It's really important because it helps me be independent from my coworkers. So you put like my jobs on there and I can check it off one by one. Pictures, everything that I need to memorize is all there, and it's really nice because I can carry it around with me and share it with sometimes, even when I was doing internship, share it with people there that's hardly seen it before. Explain it to them and how it works. It's really nice. You can do docs to go. You can do everything. You can do flashcards on there. It's really important to have it in your environment because it helps you with your to-do list, checklist, pictures, whatever you need. It's all in one little area that we don't have to bring flashcards into work and worry about them getting one.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I think technology kind of levels the playing field for people with disabilities.
Can I just add on to that? At this,
I know you're a teacher, but you...
I can just speak a little bit to that at the school level. We, of course, use the technology, the iPads and the iPods, but the hope is that it is that foundation piece. Through the assistance of the job coach and of that technology, that either the job coach fades out, the assistive technology continues, or in most cases, we would want to even fade that technology piece out. Because think of Marina's job, and even at the hospital, the iPads are used quite a bit, but they're typically all hands-on types of jobs. So the ultimate goal, hopefully, would be that if a student is able to, that they would eventually then be able to fade that out as well. So even though it is very important, we also want to use it as a fade-out piece.
and not loud enough. Marina actually does not use technology where we're at now. Correct, Adam? So she's been able to completely fade out the technology where she's at and working.
Other questions? All right, I have a question. All right, my question is, I'm going to ask each one of you this thing. Okay, so first with employers, what advice would you have for the group on how to help employers understand that they can and should open the doors to employment for people with disabilities, and how do we make that sort of the normal best practice for employers? Putting you on the spot.
I don't know. You know, I like to think a lot of it was the way I was raised. I've always had an open mind. So, I guess that's my speech. You know, I'm a firm believer that there's a job out there for everybody. You just gotta find the right job, something you love to do. My parents actually started the business. I was working a 9-to-5 desk job on a computer, hated it. So, you know, I love dogs, I love my family. It made sense to go work for them. So, I don't know, just hopefully, you know, eventually it's not considered a disability. You know, eventually we can all just get along. You know, so.
So do you do any outreach with other employers? For yourself? Do you talk about it at other places? No. Could we use you to go and talk to other employers? All right, there you go. There you have it. All right, and then for Matt and Marina, what advice do you have for the audience to help other people with disabilities be as self-determined as you are, and to look at their life as not just this one job and that's it, but to move on to careers?
For me, what I did is, since I love working with animals, I want to make a career out of it. Like I want to go to college to be a vet tech and make a career out of it. But it's finding my interest and what I wanted to make a career out of, like what you want to go to college to be. Find jobs that go with what you want to go to college to be. Like if you want to be a vet tech or work with animals in a different field, doing jobs in that area that will help for when you go to college, being prepared.
I would say, for me at first, my obstacle was becoming a chef was going to take some work, but I mean, a person with a disability, you need to look at your disabilities and learn how to overcome your obstacles, see where your weaknesses is, get the help you need to fix whatever you're slowing you down. Don't think it's slowing you down. Work on it and you will get there. Maybe a long road, but one of these days you will get there and your disability can get better. And if you're an employer, don't forget, they can get there. It may take more time than others, but working with somebody with a disability, it can be so beneficial. And that person with a disability, to have a positive attitude over a negative attitude about what their disability is and overcome that is going to help you so much in life.
Don't be afraid to hire people with disabilities. I mean, it might be scary if you find out that they have a disability, but they can learn like other people with the right support. So don't be afraid to hire them, because if you find out they have a disability, sometimes you don't want to hire them. But be open-minded like admins, and don't be afraid to take that next step forward and be the first person to hire a person with a disability. It will change your mind forever. Okay, goes my mom again.
As you just saw, we truly have that love-hate mother-daughter relationship. I also wanted to say, because I heard something yesterday that was a little perplexing to me, that so-and-so is dreaming to be X, okay? Marina had a dream. What did you originally want to be? No. What did you originally want to be before that? A veterinarian, correct? Wasn't that the first conversation? This was probably middle school level. This was a child who was having trouble adding 1 + 1 without a manipulative. So the reality was, we weren't going to be a vet. So how do you take that dream from somebody? Because it is a dream, right? We don't want to do that. So what we did is we sat down and we talked about all the responsibilities that a vet had. I just gave her a life lesson. And the final thing that kind of summed it up for her is I said, okay, you love animals, somebody brings them a dog, and it's just been hit by a car. You need to give it 20 cc's of this particular drug for every 30 pounds that it weighs, and it weighs 150 pounds. How much do you give it? She went, huh? And I said, dog's dying. How much do you give it? And she went, I don't know. I said, and I said, okay, would you even want to be in that position? And she said, no. And I said, a vet has to do that. And I said, let's look at the other things that a vet has to do. So we really looked and explored the career to help her identify that that skill set was not a skill set, A, that she had, or B, that she really wanted to have. And so then we said, but you love animals, so what do you want to do? So then she wanted to be a dog groomer. And when she went to Tulsa Career Technical Center, that was the goal there. Because like us, our goals change, theirs do too. So hers changed and she wanted to be a dog groomer, we went in there. And that went okay, but the reality was, if you brought in a dog with a specific cut that you wanted, because of the cognitive delay, she may not understand what you want, and you as a client might configure your dog and go, it looks like a cat. We didn't want that either, so we started exploring opportunities. So that tech internship, when we got finished with that, Becky Marsh, who hired her, actually came out and said, she needs to be a vet tech. She can do it all. And I said, they have to measure medicine, which is the example I gave her for the vet, right? And she goes, we use calculators. That's what she said to me. This is someone who has worked with my daughter for 6 months and said, there's a way around this. And so Marina latched onto that and said, I'm going to be a vet tech, and that's our goal. I mean, we know that she is going to go to college. Now we're holding off because she does need to have the second surgery. But my point is, if they have a dream, tap into what that dream really is. Don't tell them they can't do it. Find out what piece of it is realistic, and let them move towards it. You gave a perfect example when we came down and said that, and you're going to have to refresh my memory, when we came down from the training last week, about someone who was saying they wanted this job, and it was actually that they liked doing this one piece of the job. And once you got him in that place, he was perfect, but he kept getting fired before that. And I'll let her explain that story because I don't remember all of it. It's been a week. But my thing is, don't tell them their dream isn't real. And don't tell them that they can't accomplish. What you do is you figure out how you can make their dream something that's real on their level. And so that's what we've done. And as Adam pointed out and everybody else, she's always got a smile on her face, so she's happy. Because in her mind, she's living her dream. And that's all, as a parent, I want for her. So don't shut them out. Just find out if you can shift that dream a little bit by tuning them into the reality of things. And I'm going to let you share that story because I think it is a powerful one.
And the story kind of relates because Matt's learning French. So, right? In culinary school? A little bit, right? So the story was a young man that I worked with. His name was Digby, and he had worked as a dishwasher, and he lost 7 dishwashing positions in a 2-year period. And so he came to us as sort of the last resort. This is who is going to help you, and how are you going to do this? And so I said, okay, Digby, what are you interested in? What would you like to do? And he said, oh, dishwashing. And I said, well, 2 years, 7 jobs as a dishwasher, maybe you want to think about something different. And he's like, no, I've been told dishwashing. And I said, well, what do you really like to do? What is your passion? What gets you up in the morning? And he said, those people who call you at night during dinner time and ask you a bunch of questions? And at first I didn't know what he was talking about, then I realized it was telemarketers. I was like, oh my gosh, so it turns out at the group home he was a telemarketer's nightmare because he would have conversations with them and they hang up on him. So Digby was a person who was considered a non-reader, he was illiterate. He had some physical issues, so fine motor skills, writing wasn't something. And this was about 15 years ago, so we weren't so technology savvy as we are today. So anyway, we helped him get a job at a marketing research firm where he had to answer phones and he had to read the script and he had to fill out the information. And we accommodated for him. And he memorized the scripts. Every day they said, we'll just have him do 2. He memorized the scripts. And then we adapted the form that he had to fill out. And then guess what? Everybody else said, we want that form. It's a whole lot easier than the form you're making us fill out. So that form was now for everybody. And he worked there for 14 years. So 2 years of 7 different dishwashing positions versus 14 years at a job that he really, really liked. Now, he had some skills coming in, but he didn't have a whole lot, he didn't have everything, but he wanted to do it. It's the passion, it's the dream, it's what he was really passionate about. And I really believe that. I believe exactly what Dee said, that we can teach anybody to do anything as long as they're interested in it. If Matt wasn't interested in culinary school, if he wasn't interested in that, we wouldn't be successful. We'd have to find something that he's really passionate about. Because we all want to love what we do. And everybody in here loves what they do, right? Because we're certainly not in it for the money, right? so we really, really have to pick up on that passion. So that's exactly right. And I just want to, again, thank the panel because this was a last minute thing because I was looking at the time going, wow, we have a lot of time left. So I thank Adam because I just threw him up here and didn't tell him I was going to do this. I really thank Matt and Marina for telling their stories and sharing their stories. And I hope that during the break that you guys have an opportunity to maybe talk and mingle a little bit. And just remember that both of them said they would love to talk to groups of young people with disabilities. And I think that's really powerful. And if we can get young people with disabilities to talk to other young people, that makes all the difference in the world. Because as a mom, you can talk until you're blue in the face. As an employment consultant, I can talk till I'm blue in the face. But really the power lies with our young adults who are doing the dream. So any last comments from anybody? All right, so I guess take a break and then come back.